Koravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paskatyade Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Brahmarakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribo Slava Zarani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Gaurangi Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Sadarane Om Agyanatavinandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uddhavara Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Dagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hri Priye Vanchakapa Trivyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Vavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Krishna Chaitanya Pranitinanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivastadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Do I have my iPad there behind you? Just my beads. Okay. So we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, text number 58. Yada samharyate chayam karmangani sarvasha indriyarndiyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita yada samharyate chayam karmangani sarvasha indriyarndiyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita Yes. Ladies. Yada samharite chayam karmangani vasarvasha indriyarndiyartebhyas pragya pratishtita. Yada, when, samharyate, winds up, cha, also, ayam, he, karma, actually korma, tortoise, angani, limbs, iva, like, sarvasha, altogether, indriyani, senses, indriya artebhya, from the sense objects, tasya, his, pragya, consciousness, pratishtita, fixed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws his limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Please repeat. One who is able to withdraw from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within its shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. So sitting means situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the sense serpents, like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots, and some of them are do's. And thus one is able to follow the do's and the do nots. Restricting oneself from sense enjoyment is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example said herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up his senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious persons are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. Ida samharite chayam karmanga niva sarvashaha indriyarndiyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita. One is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws his senses within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Satarne. This explanation began with the Sri Bhagavana Vacha Prajahadi Yada Karaman Sarvan Parthamanogatan Anmani Vatnana Tushta Stita Pragya Patoshtite. One who gives up all varieties of sense desire which arises from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, he is said to be situated in transcendental knowledge. In other words, everything, the center of yoga is the mind. And the mind can think about Krishna, or the mind can think about material objects. Now, what exactly the mind appears in the mind is not necessarily under our control from the past. Of course, we have our determination, that is our will, and we can decide, for instance, where we go. If you come to the temple, it's probably more likely you're going to hear about Krishna than if you go down to the bar across the street downtown. So when we come here to the temple and we hear about Krishna, that doesn't mean that our mind is not talking to us. And it may tell us so many different things. The question is whether we believe what our mind is telling us. Therefore, in the sequence, Krishna says that even if something comes to the mind, still, we have to see that it's engaged in Krishna's service. Everything outside of Krishna's service will be very unproductive for Krishna consciousness. For instance, in the 5th chapter, Krishna will say, Tad buddhiyas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gachantnyapana abritim gyananidu kamasha. One's faith, one's mind, one's refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of self-realization. In other words, we have all these different opportunities to engage in Krishna's service. For instance, Buddha. How do we engage our intelligence in Krishna's service? Intelligence is just by hearing. Or by speaking, because when we speak, we also hear ourselves speaking. So if we speak nonsense, then we become nonsense also. And if we speak intelligent Krishna consciousness, then we become Krishna conscious also. So intelligence is, we have to feed our intelligence through the process of hearing. But why are we trying to feed our intelligence? So that our minds do not bewilder us into desiring things that are unwanted. Instead, we should desire things that will help us advance in Krishna consciousness. Like, for instance, to use the senses in devotional service, to think about Krishna, to feel for Krishna, and then to will to do something for Krishna. Because the mind thinks, feels, and wills. Therefore, even before that verse, it says, Gyanena tu tadaganam yesham nashitam atmanaha te shamadityavaj gyanam prakashiti tatparam. However, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, that his knowledge reveals everything, just like the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So our first business is that we're convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which makes us all very tiny compared to him. After all, we may be 1/10,000th the size of tip hair in size, but Krishna he's even smaller than that. We can't even compete with Krishna. He's even smaller than 1/10,000th the size of tip hair in size. Not only that, but he's everywhere. So how can you compete with someone who's everywhere? So he's actually God. And to forget that he's God, that he's everywhere and everything belongs to him and everything is meant for his service, as soon as we forget that, we come under the control of the illusory energy. Or in our case, as soon as we remember it, then we come under the control of the superior spiritual energy. So we have to hear that Krishna is God. This is every chapter in Bhagavad Gita is the same thing. Krishna is God. And then what do we do about it? Do we go home and say, well, that's good. I wish I was God, but anyhow, not everyone is lucky as Krishna. As I said, I was distributing a book on 50 years ago in Austin, Texas, and I gave one person a book, and I was showing him how the body is changing, because there was a picture in the book, in that Bhagavad Gita, how the body is changing but the soul within the body is always the same. So I asked him, which body do you have in this picture, the changing bodies? And he pointed to it. And then he said, wow, that's amazing, I'm not this body. So then I said, well, that's good. So just take the book and give a donation. But he gave me the book back and he shook my hand. He said, oh, thanks a lot, that's fantastic information. I'm not this body, but I'm not interested in the book. And then he left. In other words, someone may even understand that they're not the body to some extent, but to understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God is a whole different level of understanding. I may not be this body, but I still have a chance to become God, the enjoyer, the controller and the enjoyer of this material energy. But if I'm not this body and I'm not the controller and the enjoyer of the material energy, or any energy, then that's very alarming to the conditioned soul, that I'm just like everyone else. I have some wonderful material position and body, but actually I'm just like everyone else. I have no advantage over anyone from the transcendental point of view, that everyone is the same, everyone is equal. So that means all my attempts since time immemorial to become something special were just a waste of time. But that's not possible, because I worked so hard to become special. And now I have this opportunity to be special. So even if I'm not this body, even if I'm not special, let me enjoy pretending I'm special. Let me have a good time for, 80 years, 90 years. And then anyhow, then who knows what's going to happen next, but it doesn't really matter. At least I enjoyed for 90 years. So that's called Maya. It's more or less the same Maya everyone's under. Therefore, to establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is what the whole Bhagavad Gita is about. It's not about karma yoga or jnana yoga or stanga yoga or even bhakti yoga, although these are the means by which we realize Krishna is God. But unless we understand Krishna as God, nothing else makes sense in the Bhagavad Gita, at least not real sense. Therefore, ham sarvasya prabhava matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. That I'm the source of all the material and spiritual worlds. For me, everything is flowing. The wise who perfectly understand this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Now, that's the same thing as what I read. Jnanena tu tadagyanam yeshanashtamatmanaha te shamadittiva jnanam prakashiti nat tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened by the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, that his knowledge reveals everything, just like the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So therefore, we should expect the next verse should be similar to Tad Buddhayas, Tad Atmanas, Tad Nishtas, Tad Parayanaha, Gachantnyapana Avritim Jnanani Dyuta Pakamasha. One's intelligence, one's faith, one's mind, one's refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. And the next verse after Aham Savasya, Maschita Mashkata Prana, Bodhyantash Parashparam, Katayantasramam Nityam Tushanticha Ramanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees, they dwell in me, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from enlightening one another and conversing about me. So that's the same thing as this verse. After all, how does one's intelligence, faith, mind, and refuge become fixed in the Supreme? It's by hearing about Him from devotees who know about Him. Then, Tesham Sadatam Yuktanam Bhajantam Pratipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upyantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. In other words, we hear about Krishna, He's God, we become a little light, and then we serve Him with our body, mind, and words. So the body means keep it engaged in Krishna's service, and the mind with enthusiasm, and our words glorifying Krishna. Tesham Sadatam kirtiyanta mam yatantastrad ruda vrataha namasyantashmam nityukta upashate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So all this philosophy just to keep us engaged in Krishna's service. And to see that not only are our bodies there, but to see our intelligence is also understanding what we're doing. We should be clear that we're here to please Krishna and his devotees. And how to do that? That we have to take shelter of intelligence. And how to take shelter, how do we use our intelligence? To change our mood. From that of, I'm here because this is the best, this is a nice place to be, to I'm here to please Krishna. I'm here out of devotion. And that mood should be conveyed universally. In other words, I'm not just here to please Krishna, but I'm here to please Krishna's devotees too, which is quite a mental adjustment. So to engage one's body, mind, and words, in other words, to engage oneself in devotional service with determination and enthusiasm. Then Krishna gives intelligence. He tells us, what is that intelligence? Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakicha Pandita Samadarshana. This competitive spirit that I'm going to be better than everyone else. And anyone who doesn't think I'm better, they're my enemy. And anyone who appreciates me, they're my friend. So everything depends, what my mood is depends upon how people treat me. Because I'm the center of existence. Not that I treat people according to Krishna consciousness. No, my whole existence depends upon, my reaction to things depends on how people treat me. Not me, because I don't even know who I am. I'm imagining I'm this body as my worshipful deity. Anyone who insults my worshipful deity is a demon, because this body is God. It's the center of the universe. And anyone who loves my body, they're divine, because they love the divine, me. So there's confusion. This is our bewilderment. We're spending our time protecting, appreciating our own body, not even ourselves, because we don't know who we are. And we're trying to get devotees, working hard to get devotees, others to surrender to my body. And at the end, it's all a waste of time, because I leave this body, and the body is no longer worshipable either by me or by anyone else. All this devotion I had for this body, everyone else's devotion for the body is a waste of time, because ultimately we got to burn it or bury it or feed it to the jackals or the vultures. Could you imagine in your subtle body coming back and watching your body being devoured by a vulture? And I worked so hard for it. I prayed for it. I had an alliance with Krishna that he was going to help it. He was going to protect it. He was going to get people to love it. And now the vultures are eating it. It wasn't even offered. Oh, they're burning it. My God, how can you burn that? I'm allergic to fire. Oh, they're burying it, There's insects in that coffin. Clean the coffin first, at least. I don't like insects. So we're living in a great delusion. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness reveals it to us. Therefore, we don't like to read these books. Or if we read it, we like parts of it. We don't like the parts that we don't like. It's like sometimes you see in class, devotees come and you tell them a part that they don't like, and they immediately fall asleep. They can't. Maya is so kind. She has a mechanism. If you don't like it, you don't even have to leave the class. You just close your eyes and just disappear. Wake up when you hear everyone laughing if there's a joke that they told. Hey, what was the joke anyhow? Something important in the class. So, Vidyavanaya, this idea that everyone, whether even not of the human beings, it's bad enough that the human beings are all on the same level as me, but even the animals, even the insects, this mosquito that's biting me is also a spiritual being like I am. And ultimately, he may even get back to Godhead before I do. How embarrassing. This is ridiculous. Vidyavanaya Sambhane Brahmani. And that's not the end of it. To just understand, but that's Brahman realization, to understand that everyone is a spiritual being, to actually have that mood that everyone is equal to me, and that give up the competitive thing that I have to be better than everyone, I need some title, I need some position, I need something to make me feel special. And that's not even self-realization. Ihaivatera jita sargo yesham samyesti tamanat nidosham hi samam brahma tasma brahmanis tesitaha. When one's senses, mind, and intelligence are all fixed in the Supreme. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are very situated in Brahman. That's Brahman realization, to just understand that everyone is equal, everyone is a spiritual being, and that I may have some material body, and it may be superior or inferior or equal, but ultimately it makes no difference because everyone is spirit, the same spiritual being. And whatever body I have now, I may get a different one, either superior or inferior or equal to the ones I feel superior, inferior, equal. It's just all changing all the time. Then the prarishat priyam prapya, now dvijat prapicha priyam, stira buddhira samudo brahmani vid brahmani sitaha. That one who's naprarishat priyam prapya, no, one who's not joyful when he attains something auspicious, nor laments when he attains something inauspicious, who's self-intelligent, unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Still, we realize everyone's equal, and then we have to practice. Practice what? That there's ups and downs in the material world. I may be equal to everyone, but I like a nice, pleasant situation for myself. Sure, everyone should have a nice, pleasant situation, including myself. But it's not always like that. In other words, the material world is meant to teach us to look within for our happiness, rather than always trying to figure out how to derive happiness externally. So one who's actually striving to obtain happiness from within, you hear about Krishna, try to visualize Krishna, try to feel Krishna's presence, try to purify the heart in our relationships with others so that we become eligible to feel Krishna's presence in this world. Because it's not like I can act like any way I want externally, and internally I'm going to have a perfect life of Krishna consciousness. No, how we act, how we relate to others, because if everything is Krishna's energy, everyone is Krishna's servant, then we have to act as the acharyas act towards others, as the great devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Krishna purifies us. If we're acting properly towards others, and then Krishna purifies us and we can feel within, because our consciousness is clearer. If we engage in Krishna service externally and we relate to others in terms of Krishna consciousness, then our heart becomes purified internally and we can relate to Krishna internally also. Then we're not joyful in obtaining something pleasant because we're living in a different world. And what is that world? Bayas Parshe Visaktatma Vinat Yatmini Yat Sukham Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense objects, but is always entranced, enjoying the pleasure from within. This way the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. In other words, if we follow the path of Krishna consciousness, then gradually our heart becomes cleansed, our activities become devotional, and we can actually experience Krishna from within. And that's blissful, because Krishna is made out of bliss. As it says in the 6th chapter, Yatro paramete chitam niruda yoga sevaya yatra chevatmanatmanam pashanatmini tushiti sukama yantikam yatad buddhi gramim tendriyam vedi yatra nitrayam sitam chalati tatataha yam lava chapalam lavam manyate nadikam sita yasmin sito dukena gruna pi vichalyate tam vidya dukusam yogam viyogam yogasam gitaha. We need the translation, or that state of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from all material mental activities by the practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self of the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in that self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. Upon gaining this, he thinks that there's no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never disturbed in spite of the greatest difficulty. This is indeed freedom from all material reactions, from all material miseries by the practice of the yoga system. In other words, whether it's bhakti yoga or jnana yoga or Astanga yoga, the aim is the same. Restrain the mind from all these material mental concoctions that come about. Because we don't know what a mental concoction is, we think it's real. We think it's our mental thoughts are actually reality. So we have to practice. We have to hear and then practice a little bit. And then gradually we'll be able to distinguish between reality and our mental concoctions. Then if we choose reality, then gradually as we become purified, we're able to experience Krishna, remember him. And then because we are transcendental, and then feel with him with our transcendental senses as they become purified. And then it becomes such great pleasure that there's no greater pleasure, will be explained in the next verse. Everything else becomes insignificant compared to remembering Krishna, his name, his form, his quality, and his pastimes with his devotees. Everything else becomes insignificant. And then one's situated in balanced transcendental happiness, enjoys himself with transcendental senses, and then there's no more material miseries arising from our material existence. So this is freedom from all material miseries by the practice of this yoga system. Now, what's our problem? Krishna goes on. I mean, we can go on to the rest of it. Every chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is, because he's been speaking since time immemorial, which is a long time, it's trillions and trillions of lifetimes, speaking this over and over again. He's perfected Bhagavad Gita. It's quite a good book. He doesn't make any mistakes. There's nothing out of place. It's all sequential. It's all repeating the same thing over and over again from different points of view, perfectly made in order to help us become Krishna conscious. So we can go, every chapter we can go over, and we'll find out the same thing. And here at the end of this chapter, Krishna will say, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva shanti richate. So what's the secret? That Krishna is the controller. So when we think we're the controller, then we're in the mode of ignorance. When we think we're the doers, the controllers, everything depends upon me. If I really get into trouble, then it depends upon Krishna. We depend upon Krishna. As I said, even my mother thought she would depend on the fairies when things got really difficult. Otherwise, she didn't believe in anything, but the fairies would help her. Good fairies, of course. So this dependence upon Krishna. No, Krishna is always the controller of everything. Why should we just depend upon when we think we're in difficulty? We should always depend upon him. And he's the enjoyer. So in the mode of passion, yes, Krishna may be the controller, but whatever he has given me, then I'm going to try to enjoy. So we have to give out this spirit that I'm the enjoyer and recognize Krishna as the enjoyer. Then, all right, now I'm free from all this controlling tendency, from trying to enjoy. So now I'm the savior. I'm the person who's going to save everyone because I'm self-realized and I can tell everyone the truth. I have so much transcendental experience and I can save the whole world. I'm the Shaktavesh avatar. So that's also bewilderment, that I'm God, that I'm something different from everyone else, that I'm the savior, rather than the instrument. Nimitra matram bhavasavasachin. Krishna will tell Arjuna, just become an instrument. Don't try to take the credit. Don't try and enjoy whatever you get as a reaction, as a result of your devotional service. Just try to utilize everything in Krishna's service. Then, Shanti Mrichati. Does one become perfect when one does that? No one gets out of the modes of material nature. It becomes peaceful. Our whole problem is we're trying to become the controller. And when things don't go in our way, what's going on here? Krishna, I thought we had a deal. It's like one associate of Krishna, he was a drug dealer. This is like 50 years ago, or more than that. And he was selling heroin. So he thought he'd made a deal with Krishna. He'd give big donations to movement, and he thought, well, Krishna's my business partner. Surely he won't get caught, I won't get caught, because otherwise Krishna's going to get into trouble too. So he's giving these donations, and one time he was in his car. He had so much heroin in the car, he got intoxicated from it. He was doing some drug deal. And he fell asleep in a really expensive car. So the police came, because there were some calls from the neighbors. They found him intoxicated by heroin, and some kilos of heroin in his car, and they arrested him. So he's surprised. Wait a second. I thought we had a business deal. You were getting some of the profits, so why did you arrest me? Get me arrested? Because the headlines are Hare Krishna, big drug dealer. And Krishna got implicated that he was a drug dealer. But Mukunda Maharaj, who was the head of the communications at that time, he changed it, Christian drug dealer or whatever. Just because he was a so-called Hare Krishna, it doesn't mean that Krishna's a drug dealer. So we think, well, we have this business deal with Krishna. But actually, we give up this idea, I'm controlling. And Krishna, if Krishna's the controller, he can be a controller too. So he should control things to get what I want. And I'm the enjoyer. Krishna can enjoy too. I offered my prasadam to Krishna, and we both enjoy. And I'm the savior. Krishna is giving me so much information, I can go and save the world. Or as one devotee who's very advanced, Prabhupada's godbrother, Puri Maharaj. Puri Maharaj was 101 years old, and Braja Vihari went to him and said, Puri Maharaj, it's me, Braja Vihari. And Puri Maharaj said, who? Braja Vihari, He said, and Puri Maharaj said, well, he said, I'm over 100 years old. He said, I can't remember anything. All I can remember is Krishna. So we're a big savior, a big preacher. And then gradually, if you're old enough, then you forget everything. You can't preach anymore. All you can do is remember Krishna, which is good enough. I mean, that's all you have to remember is Krishna, and your life is perfect. But you're not a big savior anymore. Maybe you are, I don't know how you, depends how you look at it. But that's only Brahman realization in the 5th chapter. Then 6th chapter is Ashtanga Yoga. meditating on Krishna. And then the 7th chapter is, we can't do Ashtanga Yoga. The only thing we can do is hear about Krishna and then try to serve him, and then maybe we'll remember him and become Krishna conscious. So every chapter is more or less the same, just looking at it from a different point of view. But the middle 6 chapters, of which we're getting to in the summary here, it's more or less just hear about Krishna, try to understand about Krishna. Shrat Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto, try to become his devotee, worship him, try to sacrifice for him, give up all our other conceptions and surrender to him. Then give up all bad association. Then, when we become advanced, tell others about Krishna. Then our life will become perfect. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the lecture. I want to ask, because this is something that we hear quite a lot in lectures, about the body changing and the soul does not change. And I want to ask, doesn't the soul accumulate a lot of experiences through our activities and through all that we pass through in our lives? So can we say that also the soul is changing in a way, because we don't have the same experience now, like I don't have the same experience now as I had as a child. So I have more information, I have more knowledge and all that. Isn't that a change for the soul?
No.
And that's a change for what?
It's a change to the subtle body. And if you take birth again as a baby, or you take birth as, for instance, a deer, then what happened to all that education you had?
But it is said that, for example, if you do service towards Krishna, then that is not lost. So isn't that...
Well, that's lost. But your spiritual service is not lost.
But isn't that an accumulation, an experience for the soul? So isn't that...
that's temporary. Soul, what does the soul know? Transcendental knowledge. If the soul knows it's a soul, if it realizes it's a soul, that's knowledge. Everything else is just superficial.
So the whole knowledge that the soul has is just that he is a soul and that's it. Nothing else.
Well, eventually, when he becomes advanced, he realizes his relation with Krishna. Everything else is forgotten. You think you're going to go back to the spiritual world and do algebra there?
No, but it's said that whatever service a person does in this life, then in the next he starts from there.
Spiritual service.
Yes, spiritual. So isn't that an experience that is accumulated for the soul?
Buddha yoga. Whatever, when we realize, for the stages, we realize we're eternal. That's advancement towards eternal. Realizing our eternality is what we take with us. Realizing our dependency upon Paramatma in the heart is what we take with us. And whatever experiences we have with Krishna, we take with us. All the other things are just superficial. They're just material.
So that means that even in the spiritual world, the souls are stagnant. They don't change at all.
They're finding out more and more about Krishna, Krishna consciousness.
So doesn't that mean that the soul can change and is changing?
In that sense, the soul becomes more and more beautiful, more and more blissful, more and more. So in that sense, it's changing. But materially, no. In relation to Krishna, Krishna is becoming more beautiful, and all his devotees are becoming more beautiful and blissful, eternally. But that has nothing to do with material knowledge or material, whatever material assets we gain, either gross or subtle. That's all the gross and subtle material bodies. But the soul, the more he experiences Krishna and realizes Krishna, and also that means everything else in relation with Krishna, everything, including everything we think we see here, which is all Krishna's energy, that his relationship develops with everything. But as far as, mundane knowledge, that's forgotten. algebra, for instance, or how to fly a kite. Now, in the spiritual world, when we get there, there's another set of expertise that we learn there. How to serve Krishna, that's not lost. We go there, how to dress Krishna, how to make garlands for Krishna. That expertise is always developing for Krishna. How to sing for Krishna, how to dance for Krishna. That's part of the soul, that the soul learns through the devotees. So that's not lost.
But yet when we come here, we don't remember that.
Well, Krishna doesn't forget. Well, first of all, once we become self-realized, then that's a whole different story. Then we're acting in our spiritual bodies. Right now, we're just observing our material existence and desiring, getting dragged around by our material senses and mind. So we're really not making any progress spiritually, because it's not in relation with Krishna. It's all in relation with some temporary body and mind. So we think we're making progress, but it's actually, we're just wasting our time. In other words, when our desires are focused on a temporary body and mind and intelligence and false ego, we maybe think we're gaining something by it, but it's all external. It has nothing to do with developing our relation with Krishna. It's developing the relation with this gross and subtle material body. But that's temporary. When the gross and subtle material body are lost, all that knowledge that we had, it may be carried in the subtle body to the next body. Depends on our karma, whether we're going to get a human body or not. If we get a human body because of our pious activities, yes, we may be able to develop that up to the point where we start acting sinfully, and then we don't get an opportunity to get another human body or a demigod body, whatever. And then it becomes useless when we get an ant body. All that accumulated knowledge. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Yes.
I was thinking about the last time when we were discussing about this, the few questions that Arjuna was asking Krishna. How does he sit, a self-realized person? How does he walk? So I was thinking that, it could be a speculation, but I had like a brief discussion with Lalit Govind Prabhu about this, and it looks like that how does he walk means that how does he utilize his legs or feet in Krishna's service. So Amrish Maharaj was an ideal example for that. Also in one of the purport, they mentioned that how Amrish Maharaj used all his senses in Krishna's service. Also how he used his legs or feet in Krishna's service by going to pilgrimage or to the temple.
Okay, it's good. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.